Okay, now let's talk about tertiary muscle testing questions. Now, the first set of muscle testing questions were the basics. My name is, my birthday is, my address is, things like that, where it's just learning to find your rhythm, your yes, your no, right? And then in the second set of questions, after you've at least somewhat mastered the first, you don't have to master it completely to move on to the second, but you should have a pretty decent idea of how your body responds, even if it's slow, even if the answers aren't always completely accurate. It's still okay to kind of move on to the second because those questions are a lot safer to ask than other ones. And it's okay if you get, you use common sense and that to help build that strength with the subconscious. So in the first stage, we were getting yes, no answers, figuring out what that looks like. The second one was building that trust, right, with the subconscious. Here in these tertiary questions or part 3 questions, it's a little bit deeper. So if you don't feel at least moderately comfortable with parts 1 and 2, I would hold off on this one because this is really where you build some momentum with muscle testing and really start making some significant life-changing choices. And so if you don't have that trust built up with your subconscious, or you're not even sure if you're getting decently accurate yes, no answers, then hold off. But if you are thinking, I pretty much I get a pretty good idea of the first and second, and I'm doing a pretty good job getting answers, maybe not always 100% accurate, but moderately okay, then this is for you. All right. So we will start off with, is God good? All right. And make sure you get a yes. If you do not get a yes, make sure you recalibrate. Go back to the recalibration video, take some deep breaths, drink some water, go to the bathroom, maybe eat a healthy snack or something to give your gut something to do, and then jump in. All right. So if once you get the answer yes to the is God good question, let me make sure I have that. Okay, watch how I'm leaning forward. So I asked in my subconscious, is God good? Even without saying it out loud, but you can say it out loud. I would recommend saying things out loud, at least to begin with, because then you actually have formulated a question, right? Because formulating a question is part of this, whole process. The better your question, the better your answers. So with this, we're just going to make sure we get a yes to, is God good? And then we're also going to say these things out loud. So maybe there's something you have been thinking about doing that you've been afraid to do, or you have been putting off, or that you just don't feel the confidence to do, but it would be relatively simple to do. It's just you haven't been motivated to do it. All right. So in a case like that, just think about what that might be. For me, mine is spending at least 10 to 20 minutes outside, even when it's cold. I have a tendency to get cold easily. And so being outside is not my favorite thing to do when it's cold outside. So, but I know I can bundle up and I know I can do all that, right? So I'm going to ask if it is in, and for you, I want you to ask whatever it is that you feel could be that next step that you've been putting off or not felt motivated to do. Hopefully you have that in your mind. We're going to ask, is it in my highest good and best interest to, and then say your thing in your mind. Okay, notice how I got a lean forward yes. What does that mean? It means now I'm responsible to do it. Okay. So now you are responsible for doing that thing. If you get a yes, if you get a no, it must mean that your subconscious thinks, I don't think you're quite there, but that's okay. That's okay. Pick something else and ask. Okay. So that's the first thing. Pick something that maybe you've been putting off and see if it's right for you. It could be that it was right for you at the time, but it no longer is. And that's fine. You can find something else that is right for you right now. All right. Another thing would be like if you're thinking about taking a certain supplement or starting a certain exercise type or program, or maybe you are thinking about, getting involved in the community somehow. And you can ask all those different questions. Would it be in my highest good and best interest to, and then do that, for example, use frankincense essential oil under my tongue every day. Or it could be to take a multivitamin every day. It could be things like that would be relatively simple, and it would greatly improve the quality of life. Now, if you've got that figured out and you're like, okay, I can handle that, here is another question. Okay, I'm just going to give you a couple questions because these are significant questions and they're more for like intermediate level muscle testing. So this one would be about, and it would require follow-up and trust from your subconscious to do this, but ask, would it be at least 50% or higher beneficial for me to, and then list out whatever it is. So for me, my original question was, is it in my highest good and best interest to go outside and spend at least 10 to 20 minutes outside, no matter the weather, spending just being in nature? And I got a yes. And so my follow-up question here with the 50% thing is it 50% or higher beneficial for me to do that? What I just said. And if I get a yes, it means that it's more than just moderately okay. Like it's significantly going to change my life. All right. Where does the percentage come from though? The percentage comes from 0%, meaning that's not going to make any difference. So if you think about it, maybe you've been really indoctrinated in a certain healthcare professional, and I'm not saying any of those are wrong. They're all good and they're all valuable information. But sometimes we just get so overloaded that we think I need this and I need this and I need this. And if I don't have all of it, then I'm not going to be healthy or I'm not going to get well, and that's just very damaging thought process. And we can actually eliminate a lot of stress by really finding out what is the highest level of benefit from something like this. All right. So if something isn't 50% or higher, it's not going to be a life game changer. And it may or may not be worth getting into. If it's like 45% and it's something that you could easily do, I would jump on that. But if it's if it's only like 49% and it would cost a lot of money and it would do all that stuff, then it's not past that 50% threshold. It's not going to be a huge game changer. Does that make sense? If you get an answer that's 100%, maybe you say, is it 50% or higher? And then you think like, maybe it's even higher. Maybe it's like 100%. For me, if I ask, is it 50% or higher beneficial for me to say prayers and actually talk to God and communicate with God every day? It's going to be 100% yes, 100% yes, yes, every day, all the time, right? Because connecting with God is really like the source of all life and inspiration and light and wisdom. And don't we all need that, right? So if I'm not tapping into that, I've like shut the light out of my life for the day. And that's not healthy, right? So it's a massive game changer for me to communicate with God every day. All right. So you can muscle test that, right? Like you could say, is it 50% or higher for me to whatever it is, right? And if it's 50% or higher, you definitely should go for it. If it's less than 50%, then probably not, right? All right. If it's 100%, you better do this and it's going to make a huge difference for you. So that's what I want to share with you. These two questions, these tertiary questions, these are actually where you're going to start seeing a lot of momentum with your life, with your health, with your thought process, with all those things. And it's going to be extremely powerful. So thank you so much for joining me for this and for trusting me. And we are going to also talk some troubleshooting. So hang tight if you feel like you still need a little bit of support. There is more help coming.